Now that we've completed all the shaping on the end pieces, we've cut them out on the bandsaw, we've drilled out the hole for the middle, we've sanded the tops smooth and the inside of the handle smooth on the spindle sander. You can now separate the two end pieces and remove any of the double-sided tape that remains. And any residue from the double-sided tape, you can just sand off with some fine grit sandpaper. And once we've done that, once everything is smooth, everything's looking nice, our next step here is at the router table, where we're going to be putting a round over on the inside of both sides of the handles, so that when you pick up your serving tray, it'll feel nice and soft to the touch. And as a reminder, whenever we are making adjustments to the router bit, we should make sure that the power to the table is off, and you can double check that by trying to turn the router table on. Here we have a round over bit installed in the router table, which is going to give us a nice uniform round over on the inside of our handles. But the first thing we want to do is make sure that it's installed at the right height so that it doesn't take off too much material, but it doesn't take off too little. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to use this Allen key that is stored underneath the router table. There is a hole here that's labeled spindle lock. We're going to turn that to the unlocked position. And then there's a hole here that has a bunch of graduated numbers. It's in imperial. And if we turn it clockwise, it's going to raise our router bit. And if we turn it counterclockwise, it's going to lower our bit. And the ideal height for a round over bit is we want to make sure that the shoulder of the blade just comes to the top of the table. So I'm going to use a straight edge and I'm going to pass it back and forth while I raise it to find out when it catches, and then I'm going to lower it just a tiny bit beyond that. So I'll show it so that you can see what we're doing. So it's too low right now, and I'm going to move it back and forth while I raise it until I contact. There, I've contacted the shoulder of the round over bit, so I know I'm too high. So I'm going to lower it a bit until it drops past that. It's just dropping past that, so that's the height we want to be at. So I'm going to now lock the spindle lock, turn that to the locked position, and now this will not move when the router is running. So I know it's at the right height. If you'll notice here on the router bit, there's a bearing that spins on the top of it. This is so that when we butt up a piece to it, we can just push it against the bearing and we can move our piece along that without driving too far into the router bit. So this is why a round over bit is really useful and really simple to use, is that it's pretty foolproof. You can't cut too far as long as the height is adjusted correctly. And now that our router bit is set at the correct height, we can go on to routing the inside of the handle of our end piece. And how this is going to look is while the machine is turned off, we're going to place our handle over top where it's not touching the bearing on the router bit. Then we are going to turn the machine on. We're going to slowly bring our piece to the bearing. It's going to start to remove material, and we're going to move our handle in a counterclockwise motion all the way around. And once we've got back to the start, we can remove it from the bearing again and have it sitting in the inside without it touching our piece. We can reach down, turn the router off, wait for it to stop completely, and then we can lift up our piece, flip it over, put it back down, and do the same steps again. I'll show you how that looks now. Now we have a nice smooth inside of our handle.